The year was 1990. The Soviet Union was on the brink of monumental change, with the winds of political and social transformation sweeping across the nation. Yet, amidst this backdrop of upheaval, a far more sinister and horrifying reality was unfolding. The Soviet Union watched in horror. News of the atrocities spread rapidly, gripping the nation in a vice of fear and disbelief. Families huddled together, their faces etched with anxiety as they listened to the grim updates. A monster stalked their midst. This was no ordinary criminal. It was a predator who thrived in the shadows, leaving a trail of terror in his wake. The streets, once bustling with life, now seemed to harbour an unseen menace. In the quiet city of Rostov-on-Don, a gruesome discovery had been unearthed. Over 50 bodies. The scale of the horror was almost too much to comprehend, each new revelation more shocking than the last. All victims of a depraved killer. The brutality of the murders was staggering, each crime scene a testament to the killer's twisted mind. The police reports painted a picture of unimaginable cruelty. The city held its breath. Conversations were whispered, and every stranger was viewed with suspicion. The sense of community was overshadowed by a pervasive fear. Fear seeped through the streets, a chilling reminder of the killer's power. The once vibrant neighborhoods now felt like ghost towns, with an eerie silence hanging in the air. The victims, mostly young boys and girls, bore the marks of unimaginable cruelty. Their lives, full of potential and promise, were cut short in the most horrific ways. Their bodies were found in wooded areas surrounding the city. These once peaceful forests had become the final resting place for so many innocent lives, each discovery deepening the community's despair. Each discovery brought fresh waves of terror. The authorities worked tirelessly, but with each new body found, the sense of urgency and dread only grew. Whispers of the Rostov Ripper spread like wildfire. The media dubbed the killer with a name that would haunt the public consciousness, amplifying the fear and paranoia. The authorities faced mounting pressure. The public demanded answers, and the police were under immense scrutiny to bring the killer to justice. They had to catch the monster before he claimed another victim. Every moment counted, and the pressure to solve the case was palpable. Parents clutched their children closer. The fear of losing a loved one to the killer was a constant gnawing worry. Fear was a constant companion. It was in the eyes of every passer-by, in the hurried steps of those who dared to venture out. Life in Rostov-on-Don was irrevocably changed. The vibrant city had become a place of mourning and fear, its spirit dampened by the shadow of the killer. The city was living a nightmare. Every day brought new fears, and the hope of a resolution seemed distant. No one knew who the next victim would be. The uncertainty was paralyzing, and the community was gripped by a collective anxiety. The discovery of the bodies sent shockwaves through the Soviet Union. The entire nation was captivated by the horror unfolding in Rostov-on-Don. The sheer brutality was unfathomable. Each crime scene was a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity. It was a stark reminder of the darkness that could lurk beneath the surface of society. The facade of normalcy was shattered, revealing the sinister underbelly of human nature. The hunt for the Rostov Ripper had begun. The authorities were determined to bring an end to the reign of terror, but the path ahead was fraught with challenges. Andrei Chikatilo, an unassuming name. A name that would soon be etched into the annals of infamy. A face lost in the crowd. A man who could easily blend into the bustling streets of the Soviet Union. Nobody suspected the monster within. He was just another face in the sea of humanity. He moved among them, a wolf in sheep's clothing. His true nature hidden behind a mask of normalcy. His hunting ground was vast. The sprawling Soviet cities provided ample cover for his dark deeds. Train stations, bus stops and wooded paths. These were his preferred hunting grounds. Anywhere he could find vulnerable prey. Places where people were alone and unsuspecting. He often targeted runaways and young people traveling alone. They were easy targets, isolated and desperate. His demeanor was disarming, even friendly. He could easily gain the trust of his unsuspecting victims. He would lure them with promises of food, candy or help. simple gestures that masked his sinister intentions. He exploited their innocence, their trust. They never saw the danger until it was too late. He preyed on the weak and vulnerable. His appearance was nondescript. He blended in easily, a ghost among the living. This made him even more terrifying, the fact that he could be anyone, anywhere. He was a phantom, a ghost in the shadows, always lurking, always watching. He could be anywhere, watching, waiting. The fear he instilled was palpable. The fear in Rostov-on-Don intensified. The city was gripped by a sense of dread. The invisible monster haunted their every step. No one felt safe. No one was beyond his reach. The details of Chikatilo's crimes were stomach-churning. He inflicted unimaginable pain and suffering. His victims endured horrific torture before their deaths. Mutilation was his trademark. It was as if he was trying to erase their very being. He often removed organs. He would bite, tear, and devour flesh. Cannibalism became a horrifying part of his ritual. Each act was more depraved than the last. He seemed to revel in the suffering he inflicted. His acts defied any rational explanation. The savagery of his crimes shocked even seasoned investigators. They struggled to comprehend the depths of his depravity. It seemed impossible that a human being could commit such acts. Yet, the evidence was undeniable. The investigation into Chikatilo's crimes was long and arduous. The authorities were under immense pressure to find the killer. False leads and dead ends plagued their efforts. Frustration mounted with each passing day. However, they refused to give up. They meticulously collected evidence. They interviewed countless witnesses. They pored over every detail. They knew the killer would make a mistake. They just had to be patient. Finally, a breakthrough came in 1990. Chikatilo was apprehended during a routine police check. His suspicious behavior aroused the officer's suspicion. He was brought in for questioning. This would be a turning point in the case. Section 5. The Monster Unmasked: Confessions of a Killer. At first, Chikatilo denied any involvement in the murders. He sat in the dimly lit interrogation room, his face a mask of defiance. The detectives pressed him, but he remained steadfast, shaking his head in denial. He tried to maintain his innocence, insisting that he was being framed. His hands clasped tightly on the table, trembled slightly, betraying his inner turmoil. But you know, the evidence against him was overwhelming. The police had meticulously gathered piles of documents, each piece a damning testament to his guilt. The police had finally trapped him in his web of lies. Cornered and with no escape, the walls of his deception began to crumble. He cracked under the pressure. The relentless questioning, the mounting evidence, it all became too much for him to bear. He confessed to over 50 murders. His voice, once defiant, now quivered with the weight of his admissions. His chilling account sent shivers down the spines of even the most hardened investigators. They had seen many things, but nothing quite like this. He described his crimes in graphic detail. Each word he spoke painted a horrifying picture, leaving no room for doubt about his monstrous nature. There was no remorse in his voice, no hint of regret. His tone was cold, detached, as if he were recounting mundane events rather than heinous acts. He spoke of his victims with a chilling detachment. To him, they were not people, but mere objects, tools for his twisted desires. They were mere objects to him, playthings for his twisted desires. The crime scene photos, stark and haunting, told a story of unimaginable horror. His confessions revealed a mind consumed by darkness. The sketches he drew, the details he provided, all pointed to a psyche that was deeply disturbed. He was a monster in its purest form. His eyes, cold and devoid of humanity, reflected the true nature of his soul. His words would forever be etched in the annals of criminal history. The headlines screamed of his atrocities, and his confessions were typed out, each keystroke a testament to his evil. Section 6. Behind the Eyes of Evil. A Glimpse into Madness. Chikatilo's childhood was marked by hardship and instability. He grew up in extreme poverty. He witnessed unspeakable atrocities during World War II. He was bullied and ostracized by his peers. He developed disturbing fantasies at a young age. He struggled to control his urges. His desires manifested in the most horrific ways. His troubled past offered a glimpse into the creation of a monster But it did not excuse his actions. It did not diminish the pain he inflicted. It merely provided a context for his depravity. His crimes were the result of a mind warped beyond comprehension. Section 7. The final curtain, justice for the voiceless. Chikatilo's trial began in 1992. The world watched in horror as the details of his crimes were revealed. He was charged with 53 counts of murder. The evidence against him was overwhelming. His guilt was undeniable. The court found him guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to death for his heinous crimes. The sentence brought a sense of closure to the families of the victims. Justice had been served, albeit too late. His execution in 1994 marked the end of a reign of terror. The Rostov Ripper was no more, but the scars he left behind would never fully heal. His name would forever be synonymous with evil. Section 8. Scars on a Nation. The legacy of the Rostov Ripper. Chikatilo's crimes cast a long shadow over the Soviet Union. His reign of terror exposed flaws in the system. It highlighted the need for greater vigilance and protection. The case sparked a national conversation about crime, punishment, and the nature of evil. It forced people to confront the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of society. It was a stark reminder that monsters can hide in plain sight. The legacy of the Rostov Ripper continues to this day. His crimes serve as a chilling reminder of the fragility of life. They underscore the importance of justice and accountability. They compel us to never forget the victims. Section 9. A Dark Chapter, reflecting on the horror. The story of Andrei Chikatilo is not for the faint of heart. It is a tale of unimaginable cruelty. It is a stark reminder of the capacity for evil that exists within humanity. But it is a story that needs to be told. We must never forget the victims. We must learn from the mistakes of the past. We must remain vigilant against the forces of darkness. Only then can we hope to prevent such horrors from happening again.